It was rough. I feel like when I was growing up, she didn't understand my anxiety because she, growing up, had seen her friends die. Right. Like, she had been through so much stuff that, like, my issues to her kind of felt like or something. Like, my psychological contractions. There's like, I'm looking at the clock, like, how many minutes in between these contractions? And then it'd be like, and then I'm like, let me go, and then it's like,
So imagine being in a marriage so chaotic that your child actually wishes you'd be with someone else, someone they've never even met, and who isn't even alive. That's the level of family tension that has followed Jada Pinkett Smith for years, and it's spilled directly into her relationship with her daughter, Willow. Jada has often spoken about unconventional parenting and raising her kids outside the box, but at times it seems like the drama between her and Will Smith has left scars on their children. Willow, in particular, has shown signs of pushing back against her mom's influence. Not long ago, she even stirred the internet with a shocking post about being in labor, which instantly set social media ablaze with speculation before it became clear it wasn't real. Many saw it as yet another way Willow was making a point, showing that she refuses to let her mom's control or ongoing marital chaos define her. And the chaos is hard to miss. For years, Jada's lingering connection to Tupac has been a public talking point, so much so that as a young girl, Willow reportedly felt stressed enough to write about wishing he could look after her mom. Add to that the whispers about Will and Jada's strained, unconventional marriage, and it paints a picture of a household where manipulation, public embarrassment, and power struggles are constantly on display. Insiders claim Jada uses Will's aversion to divorce to her advantage, creating a dynamic where the relationship is never fully stable and the children are caught in the fallout. Now, Willow seems determined to break that cycle. She's no longer playing the quiet observer in her parents' drama. She's reclaiming her independence, making bold statements, and proving she'll always chart her own path, even if it means clapping back at her mom.
And now it's making a whole lot of shit make sense because her ass was on drugs when she was laying up fucking August Alsina. now it all makes sense because we couldn't understand it before. I do think they're oversharing, right? When you are a family as rich as the Smiths and as popular as the Smiths, you know the things that are and are not going to catch fire in the media. Considering what your mama and daddy just came off of with the slap and stuff, and considering how simple-minded a lot of people are, especially around the topic of psychedelics and drugs, this was just not something I would have stacked on top of my mama's plate.
But let's rewind for a little bit, because for a while now, Willow and Jada have actually had a pretty decent mother-daughter relationship, one that seemed to improve after years of turbulence. Once Willow started to pursue music her own way and move beyond the shadow of her parents' fame, she began to reconcile with some of the struggles she had endured while growing up in the midst of the very public and often messy drama surrounding Will and Jada's marriage. That healing process was further supported by their work together on Red Table Talk, which provided both mother and daughter with a platform to sit down, speak honestly, and address some of the lingering pain from Willow's childhood that she had long carried without closure. For a time, those heartfelt conversations and shared moments gave their relationship a renewed sense of strength and closeness. However, everything seemed to shift again after the infamous Oscars incident, when what should have been Will Smith's crowning night as an actor instead turned into one of the most talked about controversies in Hollywood history. Will shocked millions by storming the stage and slapping Chris Rock after the comedian made a G.I. Jane joke about Jada, an act that instantly overshadowed his long-awaited Academy Award win and subjected him to an enormous wave of public criticism and backlash. Yet, the situation grew even more complicated when Jada publicly stated that she did not support Will's actions, claiming that she was just as surprised as everyone else. According to her, the two had not even attended the Oscars as husband and wife, but rather she was simply there to support him professionally, never anticipating that he would go to such extremes on her behalf.
I'm really shocked because, mind you, I'm not there. We haven't called each other husband and wife in a long time. But I'm like, what is going on right now?
Keep my wife's
name out of your mouth, right? And I'm like, But now I'm really worried for Will because I don't know what's going on.
Even though Jada didn't see a problem with essentially throwing Will under the bus after he nearly torched his career in an attempt to defend her, Willow didn't share her mother's perspective and openly disagreed with the way Jada handled the situation. Wanting to provide some balance, Willow released her own statement, reminding people that her father was only human and that she had learned to view her parents not as larger than life figures, but as regular people with flaws, choosing instead to accept them as such. Still, the cracks in the mother-daughter bond continued to widen, especially when Jada embarked on her book tour and aired even more of the family's private struggles in public, particularly her long-running issues with Will. What made the tour so controversial was the way it appeared that Jada couldn't help but frame her marriage in a negative light, speaking as though it had been nothing but a burden while minimizing or dismissing the ways Will had supported her and tried to make her happy throughout their years together. For Willow, hearing her mother continually downplay her father struck a familiar chord because it reminded her of how Jada had once dismissed her own pain growing up. Willow had struggled with anxiety as a child, yet instead of receiving compassion, she often felt brushed aside. Jada herself admitted at one point that her daughter's tears annoyed her, as she believed Willow had no reason to cry given the privileged upbringing she enjoyed compared to the difficult childhood Jada had endured.
You're having upset, the energy was always like, take that somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, take that somewhere else.
Because that's how
and
I
deal
was
with it on
treating
your
myself.
own.
I didn't want to be with my own feelings. That her tears were so offensive to me.
I'm sure.
So offensive, which I was like, take that over there.
Yeah.
We can't afford that here, not realizing.
Not realizing that the anxiety she was already battling had left her in a fragile position, Willow also found herself confronted with another painful reality, her mother's long-standing obsession with Tupac Shakur. For years, Jada has openly spoken about her deep bond with the late rapper, and at this point, many people believe that if Tupac were still alive, Will Smith might never have had a place in Jada's life at all. The shadow of Tupac has lingered over the Smith household for decades, shaping not only Jada's public narrative, but also the way her family has been perceived. Even Will himself has admitted that he often felt like he came second to Tupac in Jada's heart. He once confessed that he could never even bring himself to speak to Tupac during his lifetime, simply because of the overwhelming jealousy he felt toward the connection his wife shared with him. To Will, Tupac represented an unshakable presence, someone he could never compete with, no matter how successful he became or how much he sacrificed for his family. And for Willow, watching her mother hold on to that memory while dismissing her own struggles only added to the complicated dynamic between them, forcing her to navigate not only the pressure of her parents' troubled marriage, but also the lingering ghost of a man who continued to impact their lives long after his passing.
I could never open up to interact with Pop, you know, and because we had a little bit of a thing, right? Because, they grew up together and, they loved each other, but they never had that, they never had a sexual relationship, but they had come into that age where now that was a possibility, and then Jada was with me, so, Pac had a little thing on that, but she just loved him like he was the image of perfection, but she was with the Fresh Prince, so it was like, I never could, like, even we were in a room together a couple times, I couldn't speak to him, and, he wasn't going to speak to me if I wasn't going to speak to him.
And if Will felt overshadowed and trapped in his marriage by his wife's lingering attachment to Tupac, you can only imagine how much of that tension rubbed off on Jada and Willow over the years. Willow spent much of her life allegedly watching her mother struggle in a marriage that seemed to leave her unhappy and emotionally distant, to the point where it affected her relationship with her own children. The tension grew so intense that, as a young girl, Willow claimed she even wrote a letter to Tupac, a man she had never met and who had passed away long before she was born, asking him to take her mom so that they could all finally find happiness. Years of witnessing her mother dismiss her struggles left a lasting impact on Willow, and she has admitted that it took a tremendous amount of inner work to forgive her mother and put the past behind her in an effort to repair their relationship. Yet, according to Willow, Jada's recent actions have reopened old wounds. Her behavior, far from being a one-time lapse, continues to ripple through the family, affecting not only Willow but everyone connected to them. Fans and observers have largely sided with Willow, seeing how the constant public drama between Will and Jada has impacted their children, as well as how Jada has repeatedly used family struggles as fodder for the spotlight. Critics have gone so far as to label Jada manipulative, questioning whether she truly deserves a partner like Will, and suggesting that she has prioritized the memory of Tupac over her family's well-being. Her behavior has sparked debates about narcissism, gaslighting, and unresolved childhood trauma, with some noting that if a man exhibited the same patterns, the labels would be immediate and harsh. Ultimately, the story of Willow and Jada underscores the importance of confronting and healing personal traumas before starting a family. But what do you think about all this? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video.